Super excited. See, now I know who not to throw to. Super excited to get back in the Memorial. Obviously, to kind of take where we were at the end of the Rutgers game, take the bye week. I thought our guys really maximized that moment, and came over and practiced last night. We took them in the indoor. Just with this weather that we're having right now on Saturday, it's supposed to get back up in the upper 60s, possibly get to 70. So, kind of managing that. But I do know that there are also 2 remaining games at Wisconsin, and obviously back here against Northwestern, we'll probably get something similar to this eventually before the end of the year. But the only way we can get to where we want to be is take care of today. So our guys have been really locked into that. We'll have really good Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We did get a jump on Sunday, so I think our guys play from ahead pretty good in those moments of preparation. Game 10 for them, just like it is for us. So a lot of film out there to watch, a lot of things to learn about them. Obviously, a very good offense and defense have been very opportunistic. I know it's a 4-5 football team, but they've been. You take the opening drive against Indiana, they picked them off, almost won a pick six. Came in last week against Rutgers, scored on the second play of the game with a quarterback run game. He's very, very talented, very opportunistic group. So a tremendous challenge coming here. Do have a 4 straight sellouts. Would love to get a 5th. 2:30 kickoff. It's kind of almost the ideal kickoff time for all of our fans. If we can get as many people out there, feel that home court or home field advantage would be awesome to live through. It's Military Appreciation Day, i.e. Mike don't usually get dialed up for press conferences, but Jake put this in my locker and wanted to remind us. Obviously, my wife and I kind of did an initiative. I think that's going to put 2,000 military people in the stands this weekend. So it's something that we've been. Bret actually came to that idea last spring, and something that's kind of manifested a long time to get to where we are this weekend. Also to kind of have that be a staple. A lot of you obviously know Ben Miller on my staff as an Air Force Academy guy. He wears that on his sleeve every day since the day I met him to where we are today. His journey since he's come here has kind of been awesome, been very documented. Got good news again last week on some follow-up appointments. So I asked him to be our captain, our guest captain next week. Usually I'm going with a former Illinois player, but obviously he played here at Air Force, and has been here with me now my 5th year, been with me the whole way. So he'll be our guest captain. He's also kind of taken on a new role for us in football. He's been able to be on the field a little bit. For me as a head coach, he really kind of understands how I see the game, call the game, so he helps me out a lot on game day. But in the transition to these new roster management, he's also taken into a new role in recruiting and personnel, where he'll actually be a guy that works with our guys once they get to campus here on retention, revenue share, and he's a very intelligent, high-level guy. So a guy that wears a lot of hats in our building. Super excited to hear his message on Friday to our guys. So, we've been 10-2 here at home for the last 2 seasons, and that's something that I take a lot of pride in what we're doing. And obviously this weekend is a chance to continue that in a positive, right direction. But obviously, like I said earlier, a very, very tough challenge with Coach Loxley, who's got a great history here. I know this means a lot to him to come back. He accomplished a lot of great things here as an assistant coach, and I know it'll be a tremendous task on Saturday. So with that, open up for questions.
Where you're at from an injury standpoint, in particular with Dylan Rosiak and Melvin?
With who?
Melvin, he left the game.
Oh, Melvin Priestley. Yeah, he it was a finger. He practiced last week, practiced yesterday. No restriction on Melvin. Trying to think who else. We should be pretty full strength. The guys that were concussed, those guys made it out of it no problem. Last week, nobody that left the game should have any problems coming back this week. Aiden Lawfrey, there's a chance that he'll go tomorrow, but I think he'll go this week and be with us on Saturday.
And that includes Dylan Rosiak, right?
Dylan Rosiak practiced yesterday and had no problem. Now, yesterday's practice was only a 12-period practice, but he got out there. We wanted to get him into individual, do the things that a linebacker does. He did get into Skelly. I saw he snuck into that one too. But yeah, he's cleared for practice tomorrow, and as long as there's no setbacks, he'll be with us on Saturday.
What did you learn? I mean, you talked about the importance of practices last week for some of your younger guys. What did you learn about kind of the next wave?
Yeah, so I really challenged our guys Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I actually gave a little break in the week on Wednesday, but Thursday was a really good, high-spirited practice. A lot of our twos that we became one. So Ethan at quarterback, Carson Boyd at quarterback. Both those guys continue to show positive things. Some of the 2D O linemen and D linemen that were getting elevated chances. Some of our young buck secondary players, wide receivers. Braden Trimble had a really good week. Some of these guys that are on the cusp of playing for us this year got a lot of valuable, good reps on Tuesday, and it really gives me a good picture going into, this next, the month of November is very important on the field where we're at. But for me as a head coach, even the last 2 or 3 years, this is really when I've begun to focus on my roster for retention and roster for acquisition. We'll literally have a guy on campus tonight for the next 72 hours. It's a really big target for us, and it's kind of just the way college football is right now. You got guys midweek visits, game day visits, and everything in between.
With the regular season kind of winding down, does that kind of open the door potentially for some of those true freshmen to get some playing time since the red shirts wouldn't be burned?
Yeah, so we mathematically held certain guys. So Braden Trimble coming out of the first bye week, we kind of had to plan to keep him involved in all the home games. That would give him a 4-man count and get him into the postseason. There's a couple guys, Dre and Grant Bierman, they've gone past the 4, so we're going to use them full. But there are a couple other guys, but really it's more of these other guys that, Ben Clausen's back. He practiced with us last week. He'll return to action both defensively on special teams. So that's a guy, even though he's not a freshman, he's played a lot of really good football for us. To get him back in this last part of the season has really been good. And I guess the other one, Cole Russ. Cole didn't play in the second half of the game last week, but he's cleared to go practice yesterday. So not too many more freshmen that we haven't seen already, just more continuation of the ones we have.
To have both of your bye weeks in the second half of the season, now that you've been through it, what did you kind of make of just the way the schedule set up?
Yeah, so since I've been here, we've kind of had a little bit of everything. We had some on the front end. One year we had them both back end like this, but this is almost identical to last year. Only difference is we came off a loss in Minnesota and had a bye week, and then we had a 3-week run on the back end. So the same thing here. We had the Rutgers game, obviously came out with a W, but then we have a bye week and then a 3-week run. Last year we had home, away. This year we got home, away, home. So it's a little bit different, but a lot of similarities. I think the way we've trained our guys, I told them in the month of November, everybody says those are the ones you remember, but they're the ones we remember because we train that way, and we kind of, this is when our true grit's got to come out. I think you even see some of our players now. I saw Isaiah pop out of it yesterday in the NFL. A lot of our NFL people, when they come through, talk about our guys that when they go to the next level, they don't have that rookie setback at the end of the year. I think because of the way we've been kind of training them while they're here. So it not only helps them while they're here, it hopefully helps them in the future as well.
Did you see the punter number thing with USC? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I didn't see it live. I was actually out on the East Coast recruiting. When we checked in the hotel on Friday night, I literally got the hotel. It was 21-14 at the half, I think. And so I was kind of paying attention to my hotel room, but Saturday morning I got up and saw all the chatter about it, right? So I've been kind of watching.
It came from your, what changed after the Wisconsin game kind of then was applied to this moment. I just didn't know if you had any comments on it.
No, I have a good buddy who always says these stories are always much better when you're not in them, right? So like I'm just going to stay Switzerland on this one, but I think I didn't mean to get political either. That's just a phrase my grandpa taught me. I just think that coaches are always going to find ways, right? They're always going to find things that can distinctly get you an advantage to where you're at. I understand the moment, and I understand all that goes into it, but I don't know the specifics, the parameters, but this game is just so different now. I think back in my first year, I literally didn't allow double numbers. Not only on the same side of the ball, I didn't allow them in general, right? Just because it was so confusing. Well, then numbers became a recruiting tactic, right? Like this kid wants 3. Well, this kid wants 3. Well, guess what? I only got 1 3. Well, no, they both can wear them. So I think all of our single digits have both jersey numbers. So that's kind of always been my focus, is just managing and navigating. You look at the Duke game this year, unintentional, but was really big. People don't realize this, but for us, the last 4 weeks, Ashton Hollins and Sabor both wear 2, and they both are playing the same position in punt, right? And that's the rule you're talking about. 2 players can't wear the same position. So I have to be crystal clear on that, because Ashton's a receiver and Sabor's a DB. If we were to happen and throw a fake to 2, right, like they could potentially claim a Sabor, right? Like it's just, and it's not even, it's on my radar, but it's not on my radar. And I'm not giving any away trade secrets, but like this game is an unprecedented, it's like a video game, right? It's truly, and I think a lot, I'm an older coach, 55 years old, 17 years in this profession as a head coach. And, I learn something new every day. And I think you got to keep your mind open to that. But those things pop up. Like I would have never thought about, putting and then put him in matching tights. I was told he had the shoes. So, it goes way beyond just the moment. So, yeah, it's just something we got to have our radar up on, and something we do take a lot of that. We always grab that Friday night roster thing because that truly is something that's kind of come out of that moment we were in a couple years ago. So, yeah, I think we all got to be aware of it.
Coach, you finished the season strong last year. You had an opportunity to do the same this year. And is there a formula for that or a message to the team you think that resonates?
I appreciate the question, but it's also my point to our team, right? Just because we did it last year doesn't mean it happens this year, right? Like every team is independently, independent on their reactions to certain things. I felt really good last year going into that first game, and then the only way you could get 3 was to get 1, and the only way you get 3 after you got 1 is to get 2. So we've really concentrated on the 1-0 mentality coming out of really almost kind of out of the Washington game. Is just, hey, let's really focus on Rutgers, get the bye week, focus on Maryland. I really try to snap those guys into that. We actually did things a little different in our bye week to focus on Maryland on Thursday and Friday to kind of change it up from what we did in the Washington week. And then a huge emphasis on it last night and even with my coaches this morning. So I like to think that we train and do certain things. I got a call randomly from a Big Ten coach 2 weeks ago that, we don't play each other this year, but they reached out and they had done a study on people coming out of the bye weeks, and we had a record that was as good or better than anybody else in the conference. So he was asking questions about what we did, why we did it, the amount of reps we take, who we give days off, right? And I think that's just part of our profession. We try to learn all the time. There's just a constant evolution of knowledge that you gather and how you apply, but it's really how they handle that moment. I'm really excited to see our guys get to Saturday and see how they handle the moment against Maryland.
Your offense has had success in the red zone.
Yeah.
Barry's gotten creative in some instances. How have you seen that part of your offense grow over the last?
Yeah, Barry is just, ever since I've known him, he's just been a very creative, dynamic guy. It's crazy, right? But I actually researched him when he was the OC at Bentonville, right? And what he did there and the creativity he had. He's a quarterback. He's got that mind. I kind of always send things that I see and give them to him, and he's like, I already saw it, but I appreciate it. I think he's, the thing I green-lighted him on this year when I saw Hank and the confidence he plays with. Hank just, when you have a player like that, I don't think you can use him enough, right? And I thought I missed that window a little bit with Isaiah, right? We were trying to get him to transition to receiver, and because of that, I didn't want to have him get labeled as a quarterback, so I didn't want him have him playing a lot of snaps at quarterback, and that might have been a detriment to our own returns. But to see Hank flourish in that, but just Luke too, man. Like I had a meeting with Luke this morning, and we were just kind of talking some big picture things, and just he and I said, hey, let's just, I'm trying to prepare him for a day when I'm not with him, right? Because I think Luke's going to be an outstanding NFL player. Last week I talked to the East West and the Senior Bowl and the Senior Bowl people, and we have several guys that are up on those rosters, waiting to be invited, and it's very apparent to me, on offense you have Luke Altmaier, Tanner Arkin, Hank Beatty. Those are 3 guys. Obviously, everybody kind of knew about J.C. Davis and Geske and to a certain extent Melvin Priestley and Josh, but those skill guys now are going to get a chance to play in the NFL, and they like the dependability and the football IQ that those guys have on offense that really kind of separates them from other players, and that's probably been the fun part. And then Barry's numbers, like obviously Bret sends me out these things. Luke, to have him, I knew that Kurt was kind of the golden child of quarterbacks here. I mean, as far as win totals, and in reality, when I met Kurt when he came to be a guest captain, I kind of saw some of the same things, right? Like just their demeanor, their approach, and to have him so close to Kirk Hittner on TD passes, on total wins. Barry's setting a record for 33.1 yards per game right now, which is beating the 2010 record that we set. Hank Beatty on task where he is with the wide receivers. J.C. Davis as the number 2 tackle in the country, PFF grade. There's just so many good things happen on the offense side, especially. It's just fun to see it play out.
Do you highlight
One more for this.
Do you highlight at all what Maryland's been doing with freshmen and just young players, or is it November 15th and they're not freshmen?
Well, I just I'm sitting there watching Wednesday night. I got back in town about 5 o'clock or so. Had a couple dance offs I had to grade into my living room, but I eventually watched the end of the Wisconsin game, and then actually watched the end of Nebraska and UCLA. But in Nebraska, I saw, a linebacker that we went after really hard, and he had a dozen tackles or whatever. And I just see freshmen emerging, either in our program or other places that you're just like, that's part of the beast, man. Like people are, you know, getting injured, nicked up. I watched that Washington game. I saw the running back limp off, saw the quarterback limp off, saw a couple other in that wear and tear on the body and the reps that they play. That's why I thought it was so important last week to minimize what we did with our high rep guys.
How did recruiting go
Last week.
on your trip? I think you said you went, but the assistant coaches kind of stayed back.
Yeah, so there's a rule now. You could they changed the rule, so in the NCAA you can only go out. I think it's 33 days total in the fall. So we had 7 days left going into the week. So I just kind of hit the road with me and Pat Embleton. We sent Art out for a little bit, but for the most part, other than Art, everybody was in the building all week. Which is I really did that by choice, by design. I wanted the first bye week to get some coaches on the road, but. You know, I'd listed on our roster right now, like the amount of guys that I saw during our first and second bye weeks, me personally, that have affected our program. I think a lot about Isaiah Adams, you know, was a guy that first came in. Zy Chrysler, right now, Gabe Ackus. I sent Aaron Henry to see him on our second bye week after our first year on a Monday because I didn't find out about him until a week before. And I think about the effect of that. Xavier Scott, I see guys all over in our building that we saw during these bye weeks that have literally changed the direction of our program one by one. So it's kind of, you know, a moment for me as a head coach to realize how important the evaluation process is. You got to hit on the, and I know we haven't hit 100%, but we've done really, really good. And that comes a lot from Pat Hamilton and his staff in the personnel evaluation, but also then of our acquisition once we get them on campus, how we make them feel. And you won't really know the results of this year's recruiting until a year or two from now, but I think it'll be good.
Thank you, guys.